Today I have with me Jeffrey Morgan. I have heard some of his story, and honestly, this man actually gave me a little bit of nostalgia because
I need to surround myself with somebody that allows me to see things differently, and that's how you shift and change in business.
Financial literacy of just because I make $1 million doesn't mean I have to spend $1 million.
Love that.
And I can actually put money in the bank, buy property, buy investments. So
because everyone says celebrate the little wins, celebrate the little losses, because that's what makes you resilient in business. And if you don't have resilience in business, you're out the door.
Welcome to Unmasked Founders with Leslie Kay. This is the podcast that goes beyond the highlight reel of entrepreneurship. Instead of focusing on the accolades and achievements, this show explores the real moments that shape founders, the challenges, the breakthroughs, and the lessons that transform both the business and the human behind it. Hosted by me, Leslie Kay, an entrepreneur who has built empires and discovered the cost of success. Unmasked Founders is a space for honest conversations about growth, resilience, and staying true to who you are. Whether listeners are just starting out or scaling to the next level, this is where real stories are told. Welcome to Unmasked Founders, a conversation with me, Leslie Kay.
hi, and welcome to Unmasked Founders, the conversations behind the scenes of what it really takes to build big in business. Today I have with me Jeffrey Morgan. I have heard some of his story, and honestly, this man actually gave me a little bit of nostalgia because I came up from what some would call the wrong side of town. I grew up with a lot of violence and abuse and drugs in my childhood, and then turned that into drive to become successful. So when I met Jeff, I was like, this is a man that I need to bring onto the podcast so you can all hear some of his story and also hear some of his moments in business that brought him to his knees. Thank you for joining me, Jeff.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, so we obviously met randomly actually on Instagram, and then it turns out the world is so small because I know your partner, then you were a host in a mastermind that I was a part of. I'll get you to share some of your story, but I think actually keep the past version of you brief because I want to actually get into some of the business lessons versus where you came from. But I love your story. I love I think when you were telling us the street you grew up on, and I actually felt very seen because
Yes.
I don't talk of this often. I do, and for no reason, but no one really asks. But I grew up with a lot of violence, drug addiction. My mum's still a drug addict to this day.
Wow.
And when you were talking of where you grew up, I was like, wow, like this actually, I don't know. I think when you come from that place, in my view of the
understand it.
world, it's like, oh, this guy's going to get me.
And you do. And before we start, and go down that path really quickly, I just want to say that I'm not promoting crime, but that's
No.
where I came from. I
Yes.
grew up in Everleigh Street, Redfern, which is not far from here. It was one of Australia's most notorious streets, running riots with police, domestic violence, normal drugs, crime, alcohol. I'm homeless at 12 because I suffered abuse at home. Both my brother and sister died by suicide. I spent 20 years in and out of jail, thinking it was a badge of honor growing up in that area. And by the end of it, I was a bank robber and served 7 years, finished my last sentence in 2003 to 2010, served 7 years in Melbourne and just had enough of my own bullshit. And everything that we talk about today will be relevant to how you can take your past into your future. A lot of people tend to say, oh, my past burnt me, or you take yourself back there and you're upset by it or you're sad by it or whatever it may be, and store that into your limbic brain. You and I, or you meet somebody, we had this conversation with the group, would you date Mr. Stressful, toxic, dysfunctional and so forth? That was me. And until you understand, all right, I wouldn't date that version of myself, but was there good qualities within my old self? And there's always some good qualities in people, whether you think it's a mistake, a F up or whatever you want to call it. In the end, for me, it was just all about how you could look back and say, what strengths did I actually build during that journey? And as much as we were a very notorious bank robbing crew, I took a lot of the principles in the business: discipline, accountability, responsibility, ownership. And people, they are, oh, wait a second, you're committing crime. I'm talking about more so of the actions in that crime. They're transferable into business, and that's what made us so successful there in some way, shape or form. And that transferred into business. And and once again, I'm not proud of that journey. And I understand there's victims out there of crimes. So I just want to make sure that's clear on this podcast moving forward. But we do want context. If I can do that transition and transformation, anybody can do the same thing. Use your past to build your future.
Truly, I love that. And I was very similar. Up until I was, I started in recruitment when I was 21. But before that, I hung out with bikies.
Oh, wow.
Drug dealers.
Wow.
I used to go visit my uncle in prison, like as a 12-year-old girl.
Crazy.
I'm not sure why my nana would ever do that, but
they'd come from that lifestyle.
They do. And my whole family's like that. I'm looking back, I'm like, why was I ever taken to a prison at 12 years old to visit my uncle? Of all people, it's not like it was my dad. Anyway.
I love that. It's what now, obviously, we do a lot around leadership. And what I say to people is you look back and you say, what did they do that? Or what did I do that? It's always about you'll do what you know at the ceiling of knowledge that you know it of. And that means in business, I only operate as high as I'm surrounded by. If I say to myself, I can make 5 figures from this deal, someone else is thinking you can make 8, 9, 10 figures out of this deal, Legend, if you structured it this way. Mm-hmm. But for us growing up as kids, the only thing we were thinking about was survival. So how do you take those questions for yourself where you look back and you say, extract that information that allows you to identify markers that I don't know the answers to this, so I don't have the solutions. I need to surround myself with somebody that allows me to see things differently, and that's how you shift and change in business.
Truly, I love that, and I speak to this often because when I first decided to start a business, I kind of fell into recruitment. I fell into real estate. I think God placed mentors on my path that I wasn't even really aware of along the way. Moved to Perth when I was 17 years old, applied for a reception job, just like, all right, I'll just get a job. And the company I landed in, my boss there at the time, took me under his wing, got me to study business administration, paid for my real estate license, and that sort of started me on the right path. I did dip back into when I was 19, I had a year off and I partied for a year, took drugs every day for a year, but I don't condone drugs or violence or any of that either, but that was who I was and what I knew at the time.
A lot of kids do that but just don't ever admit it.
Yeah, truly.
Especially those in business. Every Friday night after a long week, they manage their emotions with some nose beers and people just blow that under the table or blow it on top of the table, probably a better term. But in general, it's just a reality of what I've learned and something that I've taken and said, I just don't want to be that anymore. Party scene as well, growing up that way. And it's like if I'm going to talk about leadership is being able to say no to distractions, desires that might seem great. Oh, there's women in this hotel and come with us, Morgs. Might all sound great, but if you got a partner, you're trying to talk about leadership, you're trying to get function out of your business. How do you do that when you're dysfunctional yourself?
Oh, I love that. And it's so true. And actually my claim to fame was recruitment. And it was every Friday night, everyone would get on the nose beers. So the behaviours.
Recruitment, all right.
Truly, like Wolf of Wall Street for sure. I watched that and I'm like, wow, this is the life I live. But I kind of just adapted my behaviours. I became a chameleon rather than, bikies houses and strip clubs. It was boardrooms and actually strip clubs sometimes for boardroom meetings. But yeah, there was this chameleon in me that was just able to roll with the environment that I was in, and I became who I needed to survive.
Absolutely.
As a child and then as a business owner and a woman in business, I sort of fit into this mold of, well, who do I have to be to make it here and to be acceptable until I hit a point where I didn't want to wear masks anymore. And I love this leadership. It's like what you just spoke to, that you're holding yourself accountable no matter who's watching.
Absolutely. You got to, I call it taking off we do it in the program, taking off your bank robber mask.
Yes.
Because we've all put a mask on and we project who we are in corporate or in business. But you've got to take that off and be able to say to yourself, and most people don't do this. They just go on autopilot, drive into peak hour traffic, get into town, roll through the day. How can you go from unconscious to conscious? And even if you're just employed in a space and place, would you rather get, let's say, 100,000 or 500,000 based on the efforts that you've put in or the learnings that you can then implement in the workplace that creates, you know, a no-brainer for somebody when they're saying, hey, we want somebody to step up to the leadership team. Joe Bloggs, Mary Poppins, you're it, and off they go. Most people just don't put that time, energy and effort into themselves, and yet will complain because, yeah, they're sitting at home watching other people's lives when they could be actually sitting there putting some time, energy and effort into their own life. And then that then becomes a reflection to your family or the life you want. Travel more, do whatever it is, might be fly fishing every day. I don't know, sewing, knitting, buying fashion for the women, doing your hair, buying the jewelry. I don't know what it is. But in general, most people don't go from that unconscious to conscious ever. They'll just go through life and say, here's the program of life.
Yes.
Now, when I say the program of life, anyone watching this, I want you to think about what that is, going through preschool, primary school, kindergarten, finding your first boyfriend, girlfriend, et cetera, all the way through life. There's this sort of program. As a young kid, 12 years old, I ran out onto the streets of Sydney. I was homeless at the time, living just up the road here in the Domain, sleeping on the travelator. And it just shifted how I was to another 12-year-old kid. I was an entrepreneurial mindset at that point in time. Versus a young kid who was playing dolls and you know, Hot Wheels.
Truly.
So I think it's until you consciously pursue that, you'll always just operate from a particular level. I challenge everybody that watches this to go and find a new level every single day, and that means it might be just learning one new word, how to articulate yourself, right? And then be able to go out and do something different that you hadn't done the day before. And by the end of the year, that's 365 steps towards a better version of yourself, let's say in business or life. And once again, now we want somebody in the leadership role. Hey, we've seen your performance. We think you're great for it. You're ready for it. And at that point in time, you've done the work on your confidence and you jam straight into that role. So that's what we want to see, people empowering themselves.
I love that. And I love that you spoke to Mars, given that this is called Unmasked Founders, because I built a $20 million business and then found consciousness and literally, like they say, it's like I woke up one day and I was like, I didn't even really know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted from life. I was inside a marriage that I didn't even want to be inside of.
Crazy.
I had a business
but
that I didn't
accept it.
But I accepted it.
Did you try and save it? Did you stay in it because you were trying to save face? Or
well,
I always ask these questions because a lot of people are in the same position now, and I say to them, why are you staying there? And they're like, oh, you got to work on your marriage. I think if you're in a place and space where you're unhappy and there's been disrespect, there's been different elements that really have shifted you away from one another, why wasn't it there in the first place? There's no honeymoon. I always see this honeymoon period.
No.
Oh, you're over the I'm like, what are you talking about? I want to jump my partner every single night, like, and if you don't, then there's a problem.
There's a problem. Truly,
and these elements in relationships, if you're that unhappy, can you be mature enough to amicably split from one another and still have respect and time? Of even people that have cheated on me in the past, I'm not going to talk about that one bad thing they did to me when they did 2,000 great things to me. Yes. I'd rather talk about that, and we've all made a choice in life.
Oh, truly.
Yeah.
For me, I had this idea, the script that I was following of, by this age I want to be married, by this age I want a kid,
100%.
by this age. And then I woke up and I was like, oh, I have $1 million business, I have a husband that loves me, and I have a son, and am I actually happy?
Absolutely.
Do I know who I am? Is this what I want? And people actually, when I left my ex-husband, and we're great friends because we always had a foundation of friendship, we probably just weren't compatible in a lot of other ways.
Yeah.
Everyone thought I was mad because they're like, he's such a great guy. Why would you leave him? And I'm like, it's not even about that. I'm not fulfilled in this relationship. And he wasn't willing to meet me there. He didn't want to change. He didn't want to grow or evolve. He was quite happy being the man that he was, and that's totally okay. But I wanted more for myself and more from my relationship. And my partner now is that. And if I had have stayed, I would never have experienced that within myself or known myself. So, I feel that. So in the vein of Unmasked and Unmasked Founders, I would love to know, a man that has so much resilience and such a story, what has really happened in business, like the moments that probably don't make the highlight reels, like moments where you've probably thought, can I actually do this? I'm going to give up. Maybe I will just go back and rob a bank. Maybe not that drastic, but sometimes I have moments where I'm like, is this what I really want? Do I really want to keep going here?
I've had like probably two real big ones. When I first made it and made millions of dollars, it's like, I'm going to enjoy the life we once had, right? And I went back and obviously instead of investing the money, went and played with the money and bought myself all the showy stuff and like anybody else. And that was financial literacy 101 that I hadn't learned from the streets. And it was reflective in then handling that money from that point in time. The second part, so my advice to everybody out there, especially if you're just starting out in business, and even sometimes people are still going that way in business, I learned from that. And I learned to reinvest back into my business, and that's helped me. If I do want to buy something now, my principal is 10%. So if I have $1 million in the bank, I'll spend $100,000 on a holiday or whatever it is. So I'm not telling people to spend $100,000 on a holiday. If you want to do that, do your life your way.
Yes.
That's how I do my life. And same, you've heard the stories. Don't ever worry about you're spending $150,000 on a holiday. If you can afford that because you worked hard for that, you should enjoy every moment of that. And the second one was, and it's just recent, investment in a long-term forever home, double digits, in the millions. And I went all in. Yep, sweet, no problem. Still had plenty in the bank. 10% sort of rule went out the window a little bit. But it was more so I said, it's a great spot down by Bondi Beach. I'm overlooking the water. The lifestyle, I've got the whole floor. I can build it out. Then I went into a position of being able to invest in a whole bunch of units. Friend gave me that opportunity, dropped that money on that. And for me, I took a real risk on that. I left myself with not much in the bank, to be honest with you. And that risk will pay off in about 6 months' time, but it cost me because I trusted a lot of organisations to bank on top of what I already had there. So once the regular payments came in, outgoings versus incomings, I would have been in a sort of somewhat risky position, and I trusted these organisations who then didn't follow through with where we were supposed to go. And that was the old risk it to get the biscuit. No, and I'll make it happen. The old entrepreneur, being out on the streets, I'll find a way. And then things happen a particular way, and just cash flow coming into the business wasn't enough to cover the outgoings of the development of the business, things that we had in the background, and it put us in a financial bit of financial hardship, to be straight out and honest. And that's I looked through a lot of the books that I read in jail about business and people that had been successful. There was times I think, and I should just go bankrupt and just restart the business. But at the same time, I've just pushed through, and slowly but surely we're just grinding it back. And it's it's not all, business isn't always perfect. If you don't plan ahead. And when I say plan ahead, use people like, I've done stuff talking to Marky Boris as an example, or whoever it might be in my corner, Fred Skibetska. I've got to pronounce you right. Fred Skibesta. He'll kick my butt. But being able to talk to these people and just hear how they operate and then see, understand how to do business properly. They've been there, done that, managed hundreds of millions of dollars in their accounts, and just being smart with money. My advice to everybody is learn a lot about financial literacy, how to invest it, how much to keep in your account. And that principle of 10%, I had that at that time, to be honest with you. I still had that. So if I went on a $100K holiday, I had to have that $1 million in my bank. But in general, that it went out the window. And this is a chance to really set me up. Fast forward 6 months from now, I'll be happy. But it's been a opportunity to grow over the last 2 years, taking that risk.
I hear you, and it's so interesting because I clearly didn't know where we were going to go, but I've been similar. And I think for me, I'm always the almost, I don't like the word toxic positivity, because I've backed myself for so long, like I moved out of home when I was 14, I moved to Perth when I was 17, I've kind of like always just figured it out. Sometimes 100%. I'm like, I'll just figure it out. And then I push myself into a corner where I'm like, fuck, I probably should have said no to the last two things I said yes to, but we're here now and we're going to figure it out. So yeah, I think the financial literacy is huge. And actually my theme for the past year has been, the holding and creating wealth. Because I've always made a lot of money. And similar, I went through a phase where it was designer everything. Like
absolutely.
Hermes, dropped money on holidays, drove Range Rovers, like literally lived in designer things. And then went through the divorce, sold the business. I'm like, well, I don't really have a lot for all this multi-millions of dollars that I made because I wasn't building wealth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, I've been working in like nervous system and repatterning of the part of me that feels familiar actually in the lack versus the abundance. So I've been doing a lot of work on wealth building and
huge.
The financial literacy of just because I make $1 million doesn't mean I have to spend $1 million.
Love that.
And I can actually put money in the bank, buy property, buy investments. So that's been a huge theme. And I sort of realized I'd cracked the how to make money, and now I'm in the, well, what does wealth actually look like not only for my generation but for my sons. So
love that. And I want people to understand this too, because obviously we work with everyone from the Defence Force, Ministry of Health, like every high-level, high performer you could think of we're working with, whether it's professional sporting clubs, corporates in town here, universities, all across the country, all across the globe actually, so it's more about, when we say wealth creation, we might think financially, but what about your thoughts? What about your behaviors? What about your beliefs? What about your actions? Do you follow through? Will you show up for yourself every single day? And when I say show up for yourself, does your alarm go off? And people always, and you hit that dream killer button, people don't understand what the value of that towards the patterning of your brain. Just telling yourself that it's an enabling behavior that says it's okay to be me, I'll just be average.
Truly.
And to hit that alarm, my advice to everybody, put out in the lounge room, walk out there, charge yourself more than you charge your phone. Everyone runs to that phone and they want to plug it in at speed. I can't wait to charge my phone tonight and for 8 hours. Do that for yourself. Love yourself at that level, and then you'll really start to create this wealth around you. And then the actions you take around, for me, it's being able to say, all right, you know what, I don't know everything in business. Remove your pride and ego. You've already done that before. Took the bank robber's mask off and let go of everything I knew. And I was a superstar, hood superstar by Spanion's word. Spanion is doing really well from that world. I don't know if you know Spanion on YouTube. He's probably one of the best YouTubers in Australia at the moment. And he's got a massive following. So to be described as a hood superstar, you look back on it and you're just like, it's crazy how we perceive ourselves. And a lot of us in business will perceive ourselves at a particular level until you hit and you sit with someone that is making 200 million plus a year. And then I'm like, wow, the way they operate, the way they speak, the way they conduct themselves. And then you sit with somebody else who's making $1 billion. And I'm sitting there going, wow, these people, I've got a runway on at my house, and I'm like, hey, a house. And then just the calmness in their demeanor and the lessons, and I'll ask those financial questions. Here's what I've done. Oh, no. And so you've learned, you've just got to be willing to let go of that pride and ego, ask those questions. And there's no wrong answer. There's no silly question either. The silliest question is the one you don't ask.
Truly.
Just allow yourself to do that. It's okay.
So for anyone that might be listening that is in a season of business where it feels hard, and, the intention of these conversations, when I was struggling in business, I was so ashamed.
Oh, absolutely.
I was like, and I didn't want to speak about it to anyone, and I didn't know who to ask, or, sometimes podcasts that talk about business tips and tricks and business success, it's like I wasn't in the frame of mind to receive that. And I really just wanted hope. I wanted someone to reach into my life and be like, Leslie, everything's going to be okay. I promise. Just keep going.
Crazy, yeah.
So hence why the podcast was born.
I love that.
So for anyone listening that might be in a season of struggle or doubting whether they should keep moving, what is a story you can share or some words of advice to really give them the faith that, you know, just one more day of putting in effort and showing up for yourself compounds into a future that's worth being there for?
I love that. It's like I read something the other day. Coca-Cola sold 25 cans in the first year.
Wow.
25 cans. So like you look at that and you're like, sometimes you just think you know, that mouse on a mouse treadmill running, giving it everything. And there's so many business owners passionate about what they do, sweat pouring off them, nothing coming back. I guarantee those daily deposits toward your business constantly, whether it's your SOPs, your marketing, your sales, your structures, whatever it may be, your trainings, it'll eventually pay off. And like for me, one of the things, it didn't happen to you, it's happening for you. Whereas a lot of people in trauma or stress, your brain automatically stores that in the limbic brain. So it's going to then revert back to, you know, a breakup. You got a song that refer, you've had that.
Yeah.
I can see it in your face just by telling that, right? And even the podcast bloke in the background, I've seen a little grin out. So I see everything, right? So what happens if you talk about a breakup and a particular song comes on, takes you back there, right? That's that trigger. And most people then live in that vicious cycle. So if you can shift and change, it's called perception correction. Most people are built on autopilot. They've got a pattern or program of behavior that they refer back to. And I always say, would you jump out of an aeroplane for $1 million without a parachute? I think I asked you this question, And to the podcast man in the background, would you jump out of the aeroplane for $1 million without a parachute? He's like, no, right? So it's the first response to anything, and it's usually stored because our thought is aeroplane, jumping out without a parachute. I ain't doing that. But what I didn't say was that the plane was on the runway. So if I say to him now, would you do it? Of course he'd do it, but you missed the opportunity because I gave it to you. So the opportunity is to see things differently at that point in time. And the way you do it is, this is happening for me. What is it teaching me? And that's the question you ask yourself. What is it teaching me? I've had a really great opportunity to learn, grow, and prosper over the last 2 years. And it's taught me, again, the patience, the humbleness of being grateful for what I got. So, you know, going to Dubai or the world's best hotels, flying first class, to enjoy life, but it's a bit of a pull your reins back for a moment, never forget who you are or where you came from. And I think that, to me, I did so well in business. I think a lot of it shifted away from going back into communities as much. And I think I've been able to do that over the last 2 years. And it's really rewarding to see, you know, a kid on ice that, you know, domestic violence, not being a parent, just like myself, not being a father. I fathered 2 kids and got locked up and spent 15 years away from those kids. So I was never a father to those kids, and that's been a strained relationship ever since, no matter how good I've gone, because the relationship's burnt. But in general, being able to see this kid shift and change in 6 months and start a business and head towards 6 figures in his first year, and take his son in the passenger seat, you know, it was a maintenance business. And I said, what about if you could do something like Jim's mowing as the example, but do it your way? Would you do it? And he said, oh, of course I would. So we're starting to build out that franchise type model for himself so that he can leave a legacy behind for his son. And, you know, just having these conversations and seeing those people do that by going back into the community, it's been a good 2 years. And you've just got to shift out of, oh, it's about me and how hard things are. What are you actually doing to make things better? And my advice is, if you're not constantly working on your business with an intentional roadmap, I guarantee your business will be chaos. You know, it's like grabbing a bunch of jigsaw and just throwing it on the floor and say, that's my business. Marketing's out there somewhere, and the strategy for this year is hope. It's just a whole bunch of chaos like our past. And I guarantee you're laughing because you just know where that ends up. It just doesn't end up in a good place.
Yeah, and I've done it, and I've seen business owners do it, and I think it will get you to a certain point.
Absolutely.
So I talk about like the 7 stages of entrepreneurship, and there is a little bit of hustle at the beginning, and you don't really have a roadmap, and you do just kind of figure it out as you go. But you get to a point generally when you start to hit multi-six figures, like 200K and above, and it stops becoming you're proving that you can do it, to like, okay, am I going to stay in a hobby or...
Quick pause. Are these conversations resonating with you? Do you finally feel seen in your business journey? This is the entire mission of Unmasked Founders. To strip back the highlight reel and tell the raw truth about multi-6 and 7-figure success. We're here for the emotional costs, the days you want to quit, and the breakthroughs that follow. And we can bring you these essential conversations thanks to the support of our incredible partners, Cacao Collective and the OE Agency. These are the businesses who empower founders to keep going, providing the systems and the professional polish you need when you're busy navigating the emotional storm. If you love what you're hearing, don't miss an episode. Hit that subscribe button right now and check out Cacao Collective and the OE Agency in the show notes. Now, let's get back to it.
Get 200K, a well-paid job, or am I going to actually move this into a company? And to move this into a company, am I going to operate like a CEO, like the people you say you're hanging around and the questions you're asking and the conversations you're having? And you shift from, okay, I'm a founder and a hustler, to I want to actually start to evolve into becoming a CEO of this organization. And what are the thoughts, behaviors, actions that requires? And it does require strategy. And it also requires to know who you are as a leader, because the way you lead yourself is the way you lead your business.
Absolutely.
And I've not snoozed my alarm since I heard you say that. Because
I love that.
I'm in the era of rebuilding actually trust in small ways, because
Absolutely.
I'm so used to like big ways of building trust or backing myself. And what I realized was I was letting it slip in the small ways, like the alarm and the chocolate bar that I would have, or not exercising, or whatever it might be.
Simple stuff.
Small stuff.
I'll call you tomorrow. Or I'll call you later, and then going, oh, it's only, I'm just calling that person who cares. It's your word. And if your word is in your bond, integrity comes out with that. And the integrity is from you. And like, don't worry about the other person will judge you and say they didn't call.
Yes.
But it's about you. And if you don't trust yourself,
yes,
how do you get out of bed and say, yeah, I've got this?
Yes.
Like, you'll get to a level, like you said, and some people make millions
Truly.
that way. But it all comes tumbling down because you don't have the structure, you don't have the systems, you're not operating from integrity, and people feel it. And they'll go, I just don't want to deal with that person. I've heard it many times in business. And for me, it's more about being able to operate at that level. And for anybody, if you sit there going, oh, that's me, like I'm that person, don't beat up on it. That's an opportunity to identify the strength that you can now strengthen.
Truly.
So rather than saying, oh, I'm weak, or I'm no good, or I've done the wrong thing, I've messed up, it's more, do we want to identify the gaps within our business? And now let's fill those gaps with the strengths we need. And that's a great opportunity to go out and get that.
Truly. My brother's going through like an awakening, I guess, at the moment. And he came to me the other day and he was like, oh, I just realized it's all my fault. And I'm like, thank fuck. Now you can do something about it. Because before, when it was everyone else's fault and everyone else's problem, you were giving your power away.
I love that.
And when he said it, I realized it's actually all me. I'm the problem. I'm like, amazing. This is the best news I've ever heard, because now you can create change. And it's only from that ownership and that place of, when my multi-8-figure company was failing, I was like, oh, I'm at the center of this. It's not the customers or the staff member that left and took my clients, or the economy because it was post-COVID. It's me. I'm at the center of this. And that was when the journey began of becoming conscious, basically, because I realized I was living on autopilot. Wild. I almost have no memory of who I was before the moment I left my ex-husband, because I was living in such a get up, drive to work, do work, drive home, sit on opposite ends of the couch, watch Netflix, get up, drive to work. Wild.
And a lot of operators will operate like that and just think and hope that something turns around. And big shout out to Jimmy Keys, good friend of mine. former CEO of Blockbuster and 7-Eleven, and Jimmy took over both of those businesses. Blockbuster when it was starting to slide already. And one thing I've learned from him, and I'd say to everybody, is the ownership of how much you could do. And it was already on the slide. He didn't drive the company into the ground. He was actually trying to save the company on the back end. And if I got that wrong, Jimmy, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure that's what I've read. So, and he's the way he conducts himself, just to me, I've been able to take that and say, you've got to take the ownership of your space. And if he steps into 7-Eleven Blockbuster and he says, I'm going to drive this company to new financial success or a better culture, then that's on you. That's all. And your business is on you. The internal versus external, we did that in the workshop. And it's about what you control, and you control all of you. So if your business is having problems, then it's usually because things aren't in it. Maybe your SOPs aren't built out. Maybe you're not training your staff, managing your money right, and investing it the wrong way. So, and I can be like, why did they come to me and offer me that house? How dare that real estate do that? It's crazy, right?
Yes.
It's not their fault. It was my choice.
Yes.
And if I choose to let bad behavior, toxicity within the organization, lack of structure go askew, that's on me. It's nobody else's fault. It's not about controlling your staff, it's empowering your staff to then empower the environment and ultimately get the most out of it.
Yeah, I love that. So good. You spoke about removing the mask, like the bank robber mask. Have you worn any masks in business, and how did you realize that you were?
Oh man, when I started out, I used to go to meeting, people were going to laugh at this, and I don't know, I'd love to know in the comments how many more people did this. I'd say, do you have a capability statement? I'll go, oh yeah, no problems, I'll forward that through. Like, I came out of a world and I was just doing my best. I remember just not far from me, Hyde Park, we crawled under canteen to get those packet of chips. And for me and my brother sitting there because there was no food at home. We were homeless, realistically. We were home, so violent and abusive and crazy, drugs, alcohol and all the above, all hours of the night, that we'd go there, eat. And, to me, it was more about, I wasn't doing it to be a bad person. I was doing it for survival in that sense. The question was...
the masks you've worn in business.
Yeah, so when I'd go into these meetings, I wanted to change my life. And, you got a capability statement? I go, yeah, no problem, mate. And I'd race home and what the F is a capability statement or whatever it was, right? I had no idea about business, but like yourself, we're going to make this work. And I'm not a fan of getting out in the integrity word.
Yeah.
At that point in time, I was still trying to build myself.
Truly.
We came out of a world where I didn't think I'd get a job because I had 20 years been locked up in and out. Hey, here's my resume, Long Bay Jail and, all these jails. It was like, I'm just going to build my business and do that from my own end, and that way I rely on myself. And I couldn't get myself around Mark Boris. I didn't have their numbers in my phone. Jim Keys, like these.
Yes.
If I said, Mark, do you want to catch up back then? He would have said, no, I'm all good, brother. Take care.
Yeah.
Who's this? Yeah, sorry, wrong number. So I was just doing my best. And the old fake it till you make it, like literally that was the mask I wore. It was just fake up top.
Yeah.
And I'm not fake in the sense of the business I was operating. I wasn't trying to rip anyone off or be bad. But there was so many times they'd say something in the meeting. I go, I need that form. What's, a service agreement?
No ChatGPT back then either.
No. What's a service agreement? Oh, just look, template. All right, I'll create mine, put my logo on that one.
Yeah.
And off I went, It's just, and that was probably the biggest mask I wore. Not proud of it, but at the same time, it's sort of weird, twisted proud because it was the transition of the old me to new me. So I was letting go of those I call them white lies, to leave that old version of me behind. And as I started to scale, I was like, mate, now I know. And like if someone asks now, it's more like we don't. But what I will do is I'll build that out.
Put it together for you. Yeah.
And it was like you said, it was more the embarrassment of why don't you have it in your business?
Yes.
And I'm like, I was locked up for 20 years.
I've only just learned to use a computer, let alone create a capability statement. Thank you.
Man. But it's that's probably been the biggest mask, I'd say. And now there is no mask. The vulnerability is strength. I've shared these, it's been the last 2 years, these struggles financially because of the all-in and stuff on the back end of, the financial sort of struggle that a lot of people are going through. And grants change, businesses change, a lot of the buildings change in Sydney. They work from home and so forth. So it's just the whole dynamic of our business changed. And I've just had to really wear a mask of, take that mask off and share that on social media and say, not everything in business is as shiny as it seems sometimes, but it's worth the journey, because I know that on that turnaround, and it is coming back around, I'll be in a good position of life. And it's, I'd rather do that struggle. It's been 15 years I've been home now. I'd rather do that for 15 years, set yourself up for life. If you're 20, go out and do it to 35, and you can do it a lot quicker with ChatGPT and every VAs and all of the above now. You can do it in a year, man, I swear, if that. And literally then roll out the rest of your life to be the best of your life, jumping out of airplanes, traveling around. If you want the cars, the bags, whatever it is, you do you your way.
Yeah, I love that. And I would have a similar sentiment. I don't see it as it's not like it was fraud. It's not like you were saying, give me your money and then didn't deliver on a service.
Absolutely.
It's the resilience. It's the similar, a little bit of mongrel in me, I say. And sometimes you need it in business.
Find a way.
I'll figure it out. Say yes and figigure it out. Say yes and hang up the phone and be like, I have no fucking clue, but I'm going to figure that out.
Absolutely. Even to this day.
Truly.
They're like, do you reckon we could do this? And I'm like, mate, we are going to do this. And I walk out of that meeting going, what the fuck are we going to do? Like in my head, all right, let's build this roadmap, and off I go. And I think, everything starts with a belief, and Truly. It has to start with you. If you're that person and version that goes out into business, if you don't, and that going back to that alarm clock, believe in yourself at that level.
Yes.
I believe that I get up every morning, and people will say, oh, this is a bit full on, but this is business at a really high level. I'm going into the Coliseum, and if you get in my way, you're not the one walking out of the Coliseum today. Truly. I am, and I'll salute the crowd and walk off and walk back out and do the same thing repetitively every day with integrity, with respect, with truth, with honesty, and operate from that good level. But it's just you've got to wake up with that drive and determination that think David Goggins-y, but in business and be that for yourself every single day.
Yeah, I love that. And I think for me it's also like doubling down on the mission. I put a post up about this the other day. I had
love
a day.
What you just said then. I'll come back to that mission.
I had a day where I lost a client, and in that moment it's like my world felt really small and constricted, and I let myself have a day of like feeling sorry for myself, and I woke up the next day and I was like, right, you can keep carrying on and feeling sorry for yourself, or you can find the lessons, you can rebuild what needs to be done and keep moving forward. So I think for me, business is constantly showing you what still needs evolution inside of you and inside of your business. I don't think it gets easier. I think we just get more resourceful.
Absolutely. Like, what did it teach you? It didn't happen to you, it happened for you.
Truly.
How do you learn, grow, prosper from it?
Yeah.
Every lesson is a blessing.
Yeah.
And if you just sequence that in your head repetitively, you won't see it. I feel sorry for myself. I'm not good enough. Or why didn't we? Just look at it. And if there was things that you could have done better, just put them into the system. So next time, when you get to the next organization, they go, wow, what a high-performing business. And at that point in time, and even then, they might identify as to, oh, look, we thought there was more AI in it, and we've realized it isn't. Now, is that something we want to pursue? No, it's not. Well, you're going to lose that client because they want the AI, and that's okay.
Truly. And I just want to touch on this point because I think what really resonated for me in this moment is that these are the moments where people give up. I could have made it mean that my whole business was a failure versus one moment that happened inside of a really big process. And to your point, it's
Love
like
what you just said.
Yeah, it's like I evolved with it. I saw where I didn't have a system and a process to support what was happening in the client's world, and then our processes behind the scene broke down, so the client lost trust in us.
Absolutely.
And rather than go, well, my whole business model is broken and I quit, I went, okay, this was on us. I let myself feel my emotions, and then the next day I created the system and process to fix it.
Beautiful.
And I think most people will get to those tension points in business and go, I'm not good enough. I failed, this sucks, this is too hard, I'm not going to keep going, versus, okay, it was a moment in time. It was one moment out of 20 clients and we made a mistake, and can we evolve with that and do better next time? And I think that's the key.
One moment isn't one lifetime.
Truly.
Or there's bad moments, not bad days.
Truly.
And it's just the same thing, to own it like you did even on a podcast and say, we didn't service the client at that level of expectation. And even that, can we, during their deliverables, really define what their expectations are?
Truly.
And then at that point in time, look at it and say, actually, we're happy we've got the money in the account now. How good is this? Let's go on to holidays and all of the above, but not have all those sequences in place. Well, guess what? You'll get it for a year or whatever it might be. After that, they won't continue. So, or the KPIs aren't hit and you're gone. So I'd say to everybody out there, as soon as you get those deliverables, go and learn about each of those sequences and build out, not only if there was 10 steps, go and create some innovation around those steps. Build 12 steps or 11 steps, even one new thing, and present that to them. They go, wow, no one else is doing this. This is great. This is going to be a point of difference for us as a business. The unique selling point for them at that point in time then drives another 10 million, 100 million, whatever into their business. That's a different beast for that. And they're gonna love you, talk you up. And that consistent drive towards innovation or advancement within their business of beyond their deliverables, the old promise the donkey, give them the unicorn. And off you go, into your own little dreamland because of what you created together. And that's someone who's operating at a higher level. And you won't get to that higher level by hitting your snooze. I'm going to run that all day. That's going to be the same play. But and that might be anything. You tell someone you call them.
Yes.
If you say that you're going to do something, do it.
Yes.
And it could be something as simple as washing your cup in the sink. I'm going to wash my cups in the sink before I leave every morning. If you're not doing it, I don't have time for that. Well, guess what? Time management.
Truly.
Because if you're not managing time well, then you get $1 million contract over here. Great money when it comes in, but you don't manage your time. Oh, so I know we've been a bit stressed and well, that's not my problem. We hired you to help us with time management, and you can't even manage your own.
Yes.
What's going to happen at the next conversation of contracts? You're going to have to wear that. So be that person and version yourself every single day, and it won't even be a conversation. I'll just say, here's the contract, sign your next year, 5 years.
Truly.
We always do a 5-year contract with every organisation we do. Consistency is key in any place. But every year there's KPIs to be met, and every quarter they're able to assess that through the numbers. And that means that they're constantly looking at it saying, hey, this is unbelievable. Our staff, showing them the reported returns of investment, returns of investment. And that wealth creation just isn't financially, because that they can see that themselves, how their staff are operating, how many sick days, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Truly. I love that. I want to touch on the mission piece, because you said you had something about it. So
A lot of people have goals, dreams, aspirations. Going into 2026, take it and turn it into a mission. Don't worry about writing down your goals. Turn them into actual missions, because if I went out here on a mission to rob a bank, and I'm not being proud in this moment, I'm saying that was a mission. You were not going to stop me or the crew. We were going to go out and do that, and it was business, just a destructive business. The same thing though, when you go out, roll out so hard, you've got those balaclavas on, nothing is going to stop you around your health, your life, your relationships, your emotional intelligence, how you function on a level every single day because of what you put into yourself. I'm talking foods, thoughts, behaviors, beliefs, environment, etc., etc. And when you do that, once again, you'll steamroll every bit of competition. And I just believe that it's not as hard as people think it is.
It's not.
We just don't. A lot of people, like you said, get to a level, and because they're not on a mission, they're just, it's a goal, someday goal. I go, what day? And they go, like if it happens in my lifetime, I'll be happy. Even if you say that, you just enable a behavior. I say, put it on a timer. If it's I'm going to make this happen in 3 months.
Truly.
And even if you get to, say you were making $0, you started a business and I'm going to make $1 million in 3 months, and you got to 60 grand. Did you fail? You learn how to start to make money. If you make $1, you make 10, you make 100, etc. Most people don't have this mentality where they just never try because, it's hard. It's tough. I don't know how. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. My family's where we grew up. You can't do that. Well, you got to break that cycle. Money isn't everything. Well, what's it for then?
Truly.
And once you get it, what are you going to do with it? And that's one of the biggest things with the small businesses or entrepreneurs we work with. What will you do with the money? I'm going to buy a Ferrari. And I said, so how much does that make you? And go through that whole process with them. And at that point in time, put them into, set up the system, the trust, the whole lot, downstream. And at that point in time, now they're making some serious money and they're able to then get cash flow into their business. For me, that cash flow, I had so many outgoings, my incomings, should have been a lot higher.
Yes.
And with that safety net ripped from under me where I invested, it cost me a lot. So don't be me in that situation.
Or me. I did the same.
The lesson I learned from that, two things. I did a video about it. Use the bank's money, firstly. And then for me, something I learned is make sure that, because I already had the money there, they would have said, oh, mate, here, how much do you want to borrow? Take the money. And the second one to that was get something that brings you enough cash flow that just allows, if your outgoings, let's say it was 100 grand and a month or, 10 grand for business a month, get yourself maybe even 100 grand into that business coming in cash flow and from different businesses.
Yes.
That allow you then to, 10Ks, you got no stress. It's always there. That was our biggest thing. We sort of really hedged our bets and risk it to get the biscuit. Put the balaclava on. I'm going into this bank and I was sitting in the cell with handcuffs on again. So literally, the thing is, most people are in, we've spoken about that, prisoners behind your own eyes.
Truly.
Whether it's because those actions I took or the fear that you have sit behind, anxiety, procrastination, break free of those chains and really unleash yourself in 2026.
Yeah, I love that. So what is one thing that you'd like to leave the audience with to keep going, to keep building your dreams? We've given a lot in this episode, but I'd love just if there's something that someone needs to hear today when they're listening to this to keep pursuing their dreams and to turn their goals into a mission, because I think so often if there's no timeline or if the mission isn't bigger than yourself, it's easier to let yourself down than it is to let, the purpose you're here to install down sometimes.
I think for me, my grandmother always said, I was running a market sitting at the top of the street. I don't know if I told this story in the group. And she looked across, you all right, son? I go, yeah, I'm all right. Little white lie, stem from there. I just thought about that then. And she said, you're not right. And I said, oh, you're about to die and you've had such an influence on my life. She goes, I'll always be on this planet, son. I was like, what? And she's like, I've taught you all the knowledge I know. And now you'll pass that on to somebody else and my spirit will forever walk this planet. I think we sometimes discount, as you said, the little residual steps that we're taking, and people don't realize that they think in business you just take one step and you're at $1 million. It's like 4 billion gazillion steps and that never seem to stop. And it's constant, whether it's about marketing, AI, everything, staff, you name it, right? But it's constant. And I think sometimes we don't celebrate those little wins enough. And I'll tell you something even better. We don't celebrate the losses. And that's what I'd probably leave with people, because everyone says celebrate the little wins, celebrate the little losses, because that's what makes you resilient in business. And if you don't have resilience in business, you're out the door. Like, oh, this is tough. Oh, I've lost a client. I give up. I'm going back and let's have nose beers this Friday. That's just crazy. And I think that's what most people don't do. So when I get a loss, I'm like, oh, how good was that? Like, what did it really teach you? That really empowered me to be a stronger force moving forward, whereas a lot of people won't. They'll just store that and become avoidant to it. And if you understand attachment styles, there's the avoidant in most people will be like, I'm not touching that. Hey, what happened with that client that you lost? And you're like, oh, they were asses anyway.
Yes.
It was all their fault and all of the above. Celebrate and say, you know what? For me, we didn't have the systems. And taking that ownership, honesty, accountability, responsibility, you'll move into 2026 so much stronger. You're not focused on trying to lie to people, trying to hide things. Yeah. You're just open and honest. And when you're open, you always hear manifestation. Manifestation to me is real. You've done it, I've done it. But you can't invite something in from the universe when you're blocking that. Oh, it wasn't my fault. Like these clients, they were wankers anyway. It's everyone else's fault. Open yourself up and celebrate those losses and make sure those losses, I wouldn't call them losses, celebrate those opportunities to learn, grow, prosper into the better human being and a better business.
Truly, I actually thanked the client. I said I was sad for their departure, but I thanked them for the honest reflection because it's from that place that we are able to evolve. I think that's so crucial in anything, in relationships with people, in business, in life. And I want to touch on business isn't hard. It's actually 3 things. Every business is sales, marketing, delivery, the end. There's nothing else besides that. The difficult part of business is resilience. The difficult part of business is actually being in relationship with yourself and realizing that you are the problem 90% of the time, and what can you change to create more momentum or to build a bigger business or to have a better customer journey. I love that. And the micro moments. The micro more and more is what I'm realizing determines the bigger, the macro in my life. And it started when we had that workshop and you said, stop snoozing on your dreams. I'm like, oh my God, I do this every day. And I then was able to witness the small moments I was losing trust with myself. Even today, I'm like, there is a friend that I've been telling I will voice note and call and invest time in catching up with her, and I just haven't. And I've been using the excuse of I'm busy. She won't understand. I'm an entrepreneur. I've got things to do. I'm just focused right now, but I either need to stop telling her that I'm going to call her or just make the phone call. And I think the amount of mental real estate that also takes up, because it's in the back of your mind. Like today you said it and I was like, I've got to call that person. So it's taking up bandwidth that could be invested into something else.
Absolutely.
So when we honor the micro commitments or promises, or our word is our bond, it strengthens every relationship and we start to move in bigger ways. It's like that. I think the meme of where the guy has a pick and he's digging in the ground and he stops just before he gets to the diamonds.
Absolutely.
So often I think in business, the amount of people that give up because it feels hard when they just needed to get over the next mountain or learn the next lesson, because God's giving you these lessons so you become the person that can hold the business you say you want anyway.
Love that.
Because it's not going to come from the easy times.
And business is a bunch of resilience. And I say to people, you can picture a Lamborghini, beautiful car, whatever your favorite car is, right? Beautiful and it's brand new. But there's so many components of that car held by little threads, bolts, nuts, right? They never get the credit for the Lamborghini. You see the shiny car, the engine, the speed, the smell of it when you jump into it. But you take one nut and bolt off that wheel and you try and drive that at speed and see it go. Take another one off the same wheel and now you got a real problem. You can crash at speed. And mate, I was just with somebody and they were driving, it would have been 130 zone. Tire pops, they slam into a tree and 3 of them didn't make it. So shout out to the family and that person that showed us that story. And, to me, like the car is like your business. A couple of bolts start to come loose. That tire comes off and you slam it into a tree and your business dies. So I think it's very important for people to understand and the depth of that and how much that crushes you as an individual as well. And, you know, I look at something like that story and I pay respects to that family. And I thank them for even being able to share that story with me and say, share that to the world. Like, it's, you know, it's just like, it's crazy when you sit here and you think about those stories and what the potential could have been. Don't let that potential slide in your business by tightening all those nuts. Like you said, say, what were we missing in our SOPs and how can we build that training out? Not only for us staff and everybody else, we're on the same page moving forward. And even then, giving that innovation to your team to then say, what do you think we could build on top of this? And they say, what if you did it this way? And it might be a young kid coming through and, oh, wow, that's great.
Truly.
What AI could plug into that? And how would that manage the system or whatever it may be? And it generates another X amount of dollars in sales, less stress or more time for staff. Happy days. So don't discount the nuts and bolts of your business and make sure that you tighten them as much as you possibly can. And remember, life is precious. So enjoy those moments because we just don't know how and when we might leave this planet. Make sure you cherish those moments and bring your mission to life in 2026.
Truly. I love that. Thank you for such a rich conversation. Thank you for your time and wisdom.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
My absolute pleasure. Where can people find you? What do you have coming up? This is evergreen, so something that they can find and share no matter when they're listening to it.
Love that. JeffreyMorgan.com, JEFFREY. Even ChatGPT gives me the G. I'm like, okay, and I've customized it and all, and I'm like, how do you get my name wrong? I've customized you and all. I paid for the wrong version or something. ChatGPT, just so you know. But jeffreymorgan.com.au.
Awesome.
Next year, we've pretty much near booked out the whole year, and it's just conferences, meetings. Our biggest thing, our priority is that consistency in long-term workshops. It's like doing weights. You don't just run once and get fit. You don't just lift once and get strong. Businesses need to understand getting people in for these talks and conversations, very inspiring. Maybe at, I don't know, your conferences where you're having these, leadership moments, but leadership to me is about doing something consistently over a long period of time. Look at Michael Jordan, you look at Leo Messi or Ronaldo, these are Kobe Bryant or these people, they've done it for so long over a period of time that people know their names. Coca-Cola, you could have a red can sitting there and we think of it. Be that for yourself. Be so consistent in your business for a long period of time. So when people think of you, they think of one word.
Awesome.
If they think of Jeffrey Morgan, they might think mindset because of how I've been. And I think that's the most important thing, and that's a representation of what you represent, and that's you unmasked. You're not the bank robber no more. You're the mindset beast, and that allows people to get the most out of themselves. If they want to do mindset with me or whatever it is with the next person, be that for yourself every single day.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for your time.
Let's go. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Unmasked Founders with me, Leslie Kay. Follow Leslie Kay on social media for more insights, and we'll see you in the next episode. You can find me at Leslie with a Z, Kaye. Check the show notes for how to spell my name. Remember, true success is built from the inside out.